So we are ready to begin. And so I wish to greet you all this morning with the indigenous greeting, Sato Moroko, Sato Kasakabu, Kamandurapa, Mabrika Mabrika, which says in two indigenous languages, good morning, good day, and welcome. In the Lukuno and Karinia greetings. I will repeat, Sato Moroko, Sato Kasakabo, Kamandurapa, Mabrika Mabrika. So we are here this morning on this very special ground, sacred ground, together with all our brothers and sisters of the humanity, representing different ethnicities and different spiritual beliefs. But we are here to begin this conference this morning with this prayer. We of the Santa Rosa First Peoples community are happy to be invited to be among you this morning to share in this most very special and very important discussion that will begin. And so we are here to pray to God. You may ask, who is the God that you pray to? We are here to pray, to send our prayers to the Supreme Being, the Supreme Creator, the Creator of us all, who has made us all according to His, her inspiration and will, and has placed us upon this planet to live together in peace and in unity. But somewhere along the line, the negative energies infiltrate and continue to infiltrate, and so constantly from time to time we have to continue to call and to pull on those positive energies and resources in order to overcome the negatives. and to keep a balance. Sometimes the scales seem to be tipping very heavily on one side. But the Supreme Being, the Creator, is always in control. And sometimes it's possible that He allows it to be so that we will remember who we are, and He will draw us back to focus upon Him, the Creator. You may say, what is the name of your Creator? Well, this Creator is known by so many different names, to each his own. As the Creator revealed Himself to us in different times, in different forms, each of us would have a different name, but the energy is the same. And sometimes we as indigenous peoples are accused of being pagans and doing things that are not in conformity to the accepted norms. And they say that we deal with spirits. Yes, we deal with spirits. Because the very Christian Bible speaks of God as a spirit. He said, I am spirit, worship me in spirit and in truth. That original form of God, I believe no man has ever seen. Even for Christianity, God appeared to Moses in the burning bush. And so for us as indigenous peoples, we believe in the elements of nature, especially the 5 vital elements of the Creator, which is in the form of the fire, which is in the form of the water, which is in the form of the ether, the spirit, which is in the form of the breath of life, and which is in the form of Pachamama or Mama Hororo, Mother Earth. These are the vital elements. And these are limbs or part of the God we believe in as indigenous peoples. And I know not only the indigenous peoples, but all nature-based religions or faiths, or whatever terminology you want to place at it, believe in these. Because you see, we cannot see that God. God is a spirit. He can appear, He can disappear, He can come in the form of someone for His purpose or something. We can feel the spirit, but that ultimate form we have never seen. So that God reveals Himself, herself to us from time to time in different ways. But the elements that we can see, that we can feel, are limbs of the Creator, the fire that we have within us, that if we don't have it, we die. The water that we cannot exist without, water of life, the cleansing water that sustains and does so many things. If we do not have it as part of it, we die. So there is no life. God is life, and these are the elements. Mother Earth that provides for us, that we stand upon, is so important and vital for our existence. So we see them as limbs of the Creator, limbs of God. So having said that, to clarify where we are coming from, we now send our prayer to Tamushi, Adayali, Wachinachi, the Great Spirit, the Hey, the Creator of the heavens and of the earth, and all of us, all things visible and invisible. O Great Spirit, Tamushi, Adayali, Wachinachi, today we are assembled here as one people. Today we are on this sacred ground. Today we call upon you to come receive our prayers in our various languages and traditions. O Great Spirit, we come recognizing that we are weak, but you are strong. You strengthen us with your strength. We ask you, O Great Spirit, that for whatever we might have done that is not in conformity with you, we ask you for your forgiveness through our human weakness. O Great Spirit, we come to recognize you and to give you thanks for this day and for each other who have assembled here, for the proceedings that will ensue as from this time. O Great Spirit, we invite your holy and divine presence. O Great Spirit, we ask you to take control of all the proceedings. O Great Spirit, we pray for this land of Kairi. We pray for this land now known as Trinidad. O Great Spirit, and for all that diversity that you bless it with. O Great Spirit, you know our deepest want. We pray for peace. We pray for this conference. We pray that you will give guidance and inspiration. We pray that it will not just be a gathering of talk, that we will see coming from it fruits that will benefit the humanity. O Great Spirit, hear our prayer and receive our prayer. For you have created all things, and you have placed us upon the lowest earth. Yea, and from the lowest earth to the highest heaven, the atmosphere of the Great Spirit and the guardian spirit. And we ask that those guardian spirits, those of the east, those of the west, those of the north, and those of the south, bear witness to our prayer. So we have sisters also of indigenous descent, and they are now making their offering, and then they will offer it to the Great Fire. I would like to invite somebody from the East Indian community and the IPRA community to also make a prayer and join us as we make this offering. No, just
Thank you.
let's make a prayer.
We claim the rights to our spiritual heritage. We claim recognition, we claim visibility. We claim the right to have our spirituality respected. And we ask that this gathering that represents our faiths, our indigenous faith, First Peoples, the African, the Hindu belief system, that we be allowed to play the role that we can play in improving and in blessing our society. We ask for success for this conference. We ask for success and for blessings on all who are organizing. We ask for blessings on all who are here, that we will be inspired to do great things, and that it not be just talk, but that we be motivated to act and not just react. We ask for the blessings of all the powerful, creative, feminine energies in the universe, as we ask for balance between the masculine and the feminine. We pay homage. We ask for the guidance for our children. It's okay. Go in. Pay homage.
Ano Bhadra Kritavato Vishvataha. Let noble thoughts come from all sides. Let noble thoughts come from all sides. Let noble thoughts come from all sides. And let noble thoughts come from right sides. And may these thoughts lift our nation, and may we always be thankful for the original indigenous people of this land who own this space right here and all around for sharing it with us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let there be peace. Let there always be peace. Let there be eternal peace. Om.
a conference, whatever we dreaming of, whatever we needed, because our hearts are compromised with this, with a future that can look like this together.
The First Nations.
Àwọn agúdẹ ògùdẹ dáàrún mi là dáàgbọ́n mi régún aládé lọ sí gbòǹgbò ẹlẹ́yẹ ó ń pẹ́ mo ti ṣe bá agúdẹ o ìbá agúdẹ ó gúdẹ mo ti júbà àṣà o mo júbà wòdì o mo mà ti júbà olórí ẹyẹ o. I say Iba. I say Iba. I act Iba. I demand Iba. Iba means salutation, homage, reverence to all without exception. I fully endorse what has been said earlier by my brothers and sisters. Today, we are gathered here about peace. As our tradition in the southwestern part of Nigeria, Ifa as it is called, Ifa and Orisha practice. To have peace is not to think of revenge. It's not to think of avenging. When you don't think of it, you will never act it most likely. See everything from a positive angle. Even when it looks and nothing but negative, take it positively and to manifest as such. We have paid homage, we have paid reference to all ancestors, to the creative essence, just like my brother said, that manifests in each and every one of us, in plants, in animals, in foods, in sin and unseen. That is the breath of life that we all have. It's what the cockroach, it's what the plant and everything around have. And as we seek to protect that, then ours is protected. Peace is about what is happening within you. It has very little to do with what is outside. We demand that the ille we stand upon will make us to think positively. Never ever think to revenge or avenge. And then the peace within shall manifest in the outer world. I demand and command, compel and decree that this gathering will be fruitful and impart positively on each and every participant and those who are not even here or those who are going to participate virtually.
पवित्रः पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थाङ्गतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं स बाह्यभ्यन्तरः शुचिः ॐ On behalf of the Hindu Prachar Kendra, Varshpatipada Sansad, that is the Hindu Parliament of the New Year Day, and Chinmaya Ashram. Let me acknowledge, as a citizen of this land, the debt that we pay to the original peoples of this land, who are but now in small numbers. And we should always think about the protection of these people, and I say so in front of the chief. Varunaji, I will conduct an accommodation to a Pitripaksh Puja that lasts long in the context of this present situation that we have here, that we are celebrating in conference. People from the different traditional religions, indigenous religions, in fact, pagans. We all come together here as pagans. I'm not afraid of that word. That one word unites us. For years it has damned us. But now it unites us. I am a pagan. I am a I embrace my pagan family and my elder sister and His Highness, Holiness, way from Africa, who is now part of us, the chief, and all of us who are here. I want to acknowledge, after acknowledge the human issues in these statements. Isha-vasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhundhitaha magradakasa siddhanam. The first verse in an ancient text from the Vedic tradition, that Isha, whom we call by different names, Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti, that one ultimate, immediate truth, called and experienced in different ways and by different names, and pursued in different ways, and even received in different ways. That Isha is invested in everything that is. I stand on this earth. For this earth, I will have nowhere to stand. And it is because the earth is kept by Isha, the existence of all pervading security. And all races and all religions and all pagans stand on this stage equally. So therefore, to celebrate it from the Ramayana, Siya Ram mein sab jag jani, karahu pranam chori jug pani. I bow in my celebration to each one of you and everything, and through all of that, the one. Isha vasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitaha ma grihakasya dhanam. An important reflection for today's proceeding, that Isha, having invested itself in existence, in the concreteness of concrete things, and in all of us, must come out when we speak to each other, when we think about each other. And how we must act, it suggests, with a sense of renunciation, build your empires. Make your money. Don't be ashamed of money. Have money. But how to spend it? Why you must make it? And how to spend it? And why we have been educated and have emotions and why we have come together is one thing. And how we must utilize this opportunity today, created by these leaders with us and my Beti. Today I told her, it's only today I see her as a woman. All the years I see her as a child. Today, in front of her mother, I told her today. So, Ano Bhadra Prativatu Vishwata. Therefore, the conference in holding this term here, this suggestion from the rishis, let noble thoughts come from all sides. No matter how we may hurt. You know why we could go beyond our hurt? We have had it for long years. We can shrug it off and we can pick it up when we're ready because we are big. We are those people who have survived all through. And we stand here to get together with solidarity to the owners of this land in brotherhood and sisterhood. Prajapati Vayadam Agre Asit, that divine that was always there before, Tasya Vak Dvitiya Asit, that the sound, not the word comes after. That sound, Om, was with that which was there before. Vak Vai Param Brahma, and that Vak is that eternal truth on which we stand today. And that word, that sound will be invoked in different languages today, in different songs, in different feelings. But one to be centered on is no matter who our ancestors are, on collaboration, we are one. My ancestors that I will worship are the Saptarishis by calling their name present in this. Basis of right. And I'll say one and go. Chutney and go wrong. Om Kashyapo Swadha Gola. Om Atri Swadha. Om Bhardwaj Swadha. Om Vishwamitra Swadha. Atha Gautamaha Swadha. Om Jamadnil Swaha. Swadha. Om Vasishtaha Swadha. Hitai Saptate Rishes Vitaha. By mere remembrance of this ancient original ancestor, the seven rishis, we invoke their presence here right now to be good to all of us and help us to be good to all of us. Om Ye Bandhva, Ye Bandhva A Bandhva Va, Ye Anya Janmani Bandhva Ha, Te Triptim Akhalayantu Yatsad Asmato Vibhavanchati. Om Sri Krishna says, Vitrinamaryama Chasmi Yamah Samayatamham. I am Yama, who takes you from life to death, and I sustain you also. And the command comes, Dhanam Manacharam Hatam Kulam. The generations shall be spoiled, the people shall be despoiled if we do not give dhan, if we don't share with each other. Today we share words, not lathi and licks. Today we share beyond our personal issues. the common welfare. गंगाधार अपि महातीर्थे त्रिनादस्य महादेवदेशस्य नाभिः पतिरामस्य लिंगं दर्शनार्थं शिवदास महायज्ञं महासंकल्पम् एतत् संस्तुति त्रिदागस्य द्वैपायन माता नमस्कुर्यान् गणपति त्रिदाद जय 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 ओ सिया राम में सब जग जानी करहु प्रणाम जोरी जुग पानी. Bowing all the ancestors, immediate Jahajis ancestors, and all ancient ancestors, and all ancestors of all lands of all
गणेशाय नमः. श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः. श्रीपादवल्लभ नरसिंह सरस्वती. श्री गुरुदत्तात्रेयाय नमः. ओम श्री 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 गणपति सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः. ओम श्री 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 दत्त विजयानंद तीर्थ सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः. ओम श्री 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 जयलक्ष्मी माता परम गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ओम.
Woo! Well, that is how you started, huh? That is how we started. Greetings all, and welcome to the Hilton Trinidad for the opening ceremony of the International Peace Research Association General Conference. What you would have witnessed on our screens was the smoke ceremony led by Chief Ricardo Barath Hernandez of the Santa Rosa Peoples of Arima, Trinidad, an ancient ritual found across the world and practiced by indigenous peoples to bring cleansing and healing. It is performed at milestones of an individual or a community's life. You would have also had elder and spiritual leader of the Hindu Prachar Kendra, Sri Raviji, leading a ritual for ancestors of India brought to Trinidad and Tobago from 1845, according to Hindu tradition. You would have also had Olatunji Somorin Araba Eposo also performing a ritual for the ancestors of Africa, according to the Ifa Orisha tradition. We also want to say thank you so much to the musicians that would have accompanied our elders into the ballroom. That would have been the Phoenix Boys Tassa Group, as well as Wasafuli drummers. I invite you to remain standing for the reading of the land acknowledgement written by Psyche Gonzalez of the Santa Rosa First Peoples community. She writes, "Good morning, guests, and welcome to Kairi, the island. As we look to the future, let us take a moment to recognize the historical and contemporary relationship between indigenous peoples and the land, and pay our respects to the traditional custodians of these islands. We stand on the lands of the Kalinas, the Tainos, the Warao, the Nepuyo, the Yao, the Lokono, Shebayo, and Chaguanes. This week, as you go forth in pursuit of peace and justice, we ask that you remember the ancestors who survived the violence of colonization, slavery, discrimination, exclusion, and erasure. Remember those indigenous ways of knowing, of survival, of resistance. Remember that their children are still here, alive and strong. That the land provides and protects. That the land has memory. We recognize the importance of the land in understanding and addressing violence and injustice in our communities. Thank you. And now please remain standing for the playing of the national anthem by Deja and Deja Kane, the Pan Twins. Beautiful. Thank you so much to the Pan twins, Dejeen and Deja Kane, for their rendition of our national anthem on our national instrument, the steel pan, the only acoustic instrument to be invented in the 21st century. Ha, we did that. Yes? You'll be hearing more about the steel pan later on in the week. There we go. That being said, we now invite you to be seated. Yes, you can breathe a sigh of relief. Elders, youth of Trinidad and Tobago, Professor Matt Mayer, Secretary General of the International Peace Research Association, and other members of the International Peace Research Association, members of the Diplomatic Corps, public servants of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to this 29th Biennial Conference of the International Peace Research Association. We know that in the long history of this conference, it has traveled the length and breadth of the world. However, we want to say to the IPRA, welcome home. Yes, that's a good time to clap. Now's a good time to clap. Imperialism leaves behind germs of rot, which we must clinically detect and remove from our land, but from our minds as well. Those are the words of Frantz Fanon. It is in this spirit that we embark on this journey today, a joyful celebration and carving of spaces rooted in peace and justice at the long overdue intersection of decolonized and uncolonized disruption, exploration, reimagination, and intervention. I am Abeyo Jackson, a sixth-generation American from the lineage of Amphi and Bashana Jackson, and it is my pleasure to steward you through today's proceedings. Now, usually when I do these types of things, I like to bring it home. So when I say AU, you say AU, yeah? AU! AU! I find we need one more. You find so? One more. AU! There we go. And now we will have some safety announcements. No? No safety announcements. All right, we will all be safe and we will all be each other's keepers here today. Right? Great. And now we welcome the students of Belmont Government Primary and Barataria Roman Catholic School to do something that I think is so beautiful. They are going to engage in a tree exchange. We now welcome these beautiful babies for this very symbolic exchange. And as they get ready to do the exchange, we want you all to know that these fruit trees, soursop, mango, and herbs have been prepared by Iya Akila Jaramogi of the Fonzaman Community Restoration Project, also American descendants. Thank you so much, Mama Akila. We've asked the children to share these plants today as a symbol of the importance of food, security, engagement with the land, and in a commitment to make every community a greener place. All right. All right, here they go. Sure, no worries. Thank you. All right. So much cuteness. Right. Okay. Everybody has their tree. Everybody is ready. And this is where we invite them to exchange. Gotcha. Yes. So again, it's the Belmont Government Primary and the Barataria Anglican Primary that will be engaging, and RC. Okay, so it's 3 schools. It's Belmont Government Primary, Barataria Roman Catholic School, as well as Barataria Anglican Primary. Thank you. Now would be a great time for us to exchange plants. Go. Don't be bashful. Don't be shy. Ready? All right, here we go. Yes, give them some encouragement. Yes. Aww. Yes, take plenty pictures. This is the cutest, greenest photo op ever. Right, so find a partner and exchange your tree. There we go. Right. Ready? And exchange. Y'all could exchange. There you go. Yay! Right, so find a partner and exchange. Lovely. And we say thank you to each other. And smile, make a new friend. You could even ask their names. You can ask each other their names, you could talk to each other. Yes? Okay, trees are exchanged, names are exchanged, and we invite these beautiful little ones back to their seats. Thank you so much to our schools. Again, that would have been the Belmont Government Primary School, the Barataria Roman Catholic School, and the Barataria Anglican Primary School. Thank you also again to Mama Keela and the Fonzerman's team and all of the teachers who would have also helped make today possible. What a wonderful time. Lovely, okay. And now that we're off to that feel-good start, a conference like this would not be possible without good leadership. Professor Matt Mayer, an internationally noted author, historian, organizer, re-elected in 2021 as the IPRA's Co-Secretary General. He's the Senior Research Scholar of the University of Massachusetts, Amherst Resistance Studies Initiative, a position he has held since retiring from 30-plus years, as a tenured educator and teacher in training for the New York City Department of Education. That being said, it is my pleasure to welcome the professor, Professor Matt Mayer, Secretary General of the International Peace Research Association, to bring welcome remarks.
What an honor to be here, both as IPRA, but also as a united community here in Trinidad and Tobago. It is one of the great privileges to be in this position at this time. I guess I want to start by saying that when, well over 2 years ago, I spoke to my colleague and friend, Dr. Hakeem Williams, about the idea of conjuring something here in this space for this community, we recognized at that moment that Trinidad held a unique series of possibilities for us, not just because of the particular history, the ways in which cultures and peoples and faiths blended together, not always easily, but nevertheless to forge some new realities. We also realized, and I'm from New York City, I'm from the US, though I don't represent the US in those ways, that we could not hold a conference like this one in my country because whatever government is elected, we'd be unlikely to get the proper visas and support that would allow some of our scholars into the country. We knew, we suspected, and we have been confirmed that this place would be and is a hospitable place. So, yes. So, though we are honored to be here as the first IPRA gathering in the Caribbean, we also recognize that we are creating together, hospitably in Trinidad, a uniquely Pan-African space. We are holding together a uniquely Pan-American space with key leaders from the South and the North of the Americas. But as we reflect on Pan-Africanism and Pan-Americanism, we also realize that there was something else about this place that had a particular Pan-Pan relationship. This particular one has the IPRA 2023 logo on it, and you can purchase them out there. IPRA is over 70 years old, and we have, as you've been told, conferences in every corner of the world. It is an association primarily of scholars, of peace researchers and educators, but always intentionally also of peace activists and organizers, of community members and leaders, of people of all faiths and all ideologies to come together to figure out how we can sharpen our work, how we can mix our scholarship and our activism, our organization, to build for better tomorrows. As we started this day with extraordinary First Peoples honorings and ceremonies rooted in the ancestors, rooted in the elders, and of course this conference was titled Rooted Futures, because as the Akan of Ghana say, in that Sankofa moment, we must look back to look forward. As we do that, I would be remiss to not mention some of IPRA's elders who are with us not in person, but in some ways in any case. It was not, I think, a coincidence, because I've stopped believing in those, that I got home, as I do, to the room late last night and opened my emails, and my first email was from one of the IPRA elders, an early founder, Howard Richards, who despite his advanced years and many, many decades of work in publishing, said, I have a new piece of work, a piece on the theory of small wins. The theory of small wins, Howard Richards. So thinking about what that means here this week, I think, is important. It's also a conference, as you'll see in the program, of many, many different voices, and I'm not going to talk about them now. You look at your program and you'll see. But one of the special things is that it was 50 years ago that the discipline of peace education, which of course said, it's not just you university people on the Hill, it's also very much in the community with early childhood educators and with the youth and students that we talk about peace. So Betty Reardon, one of the founders of the Peace Education Commission, brings a special message to us at the end of the week as the Peace Education Commission celebrates 50 years. I received a greeting from Ursula Oswald Spring, one of the key leaders of the Latin American Peace Research Council, who apologized for not being on the Zooms and some of the live streams leading up to this event because she just had a grandchild yesterday. So when I think about some of those elders, and I think about some younger people like Hakeem, I also would be remiss to not mention a person who is posing as a youth, Monica. Oh, she is here. I thought the chances were she would not be. But it cannot be said enough that this person who appears to us as a college sophomore, in fact, must be doing some kind of trickster move, because she has been doing the work of far, far older people, but it's not, of course, ever about age. It is about the quality of your commitment and work. We will have many opportunities to thank many people, but I think at this moment, when I think of Attila, Angelique, when I think of Mama Akila, when I think about Hakeem, I also have to mention Monica, and we can take a moment to thank her now. I'm going to close by directing attention to what I'm wearing, because it's with some intentionality. Now, I often will come to events with this shirt, because like Kenneth Kaunda, like some other African leaders, and I'm a Pan-Africanist by work and by solidarity, Madiba Nelson Mandela said, in word and in deed, that we must be careful not to just replicate the Western dress, but also we're not necessarily always going to wear traditional dress. Kente was okay for the independence of Ghana. So a line of shirts based on his particular flair that are called presidential shirts bring African-centeredness into 21st century fashion. And so I'm wearing one of the Mandela shirts today. But you're applauding for the shirt. It's not really a plug. But finally, I was asked to represent in some ways, by way of noting some of the first people, some of the indigenous native peoples close to my community and close to my heart, the people of the first light, the Wampanoag of New England. And so the chief of the Wampanoag of Aquinnah and others use and focus on the wampum, which is a shell from the clam, to make, amongst other things, jewelry and art. And of course, it was also a form of currency for them for many years. And this particular unique and extraordinary piece has the wampum that was made, if you look carefully, into the shape of a hummingbird. And so when I saw that, and we understood the hummingbird and its symbolism in this land, and its symbolism throughout the world, I thought of other comrades of mine from back in the US. We have a coalition called the Spirit of Mandela, which understands that in the US, it's not all what one would make it out to be. In fact, the US government was found guilty on 5 counts of genocide by an international commission in October of 2021. And the hummingbird leads me always to a bird lesser known called the petire. The petire. It's a Puerto Rican bird, and one of our Puerto Rican representatives will be here with us this week. And of course, Puerto Rico is one of the oldest and largest remaining colonies in the world under direct colonialism of the US. And the petire, like the hummingbird, are known for being fierce fighters that may be small in stature, but look to win victories, not because of their size or their age, but because of their tenacity. May we have that same serious tenacity in our fights against colonialism, against patriarchy, against all forms of injustice, for a peace with justice this week and in the future. May we have a world of small wins. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you so much, Professor Maya. And now I'd like you to join me in welcoming Dr. Hakeem Mohandas Amani Williams, co-chair of IPRA. I'm going to take the initiative to use the acronym, 2023 Conference Planning Committee. He is the Daria and Eric Wallach Professor Director of Peace and Justice Studies Associate Professor of Africana Studies, Affiliate in Education and Advisory Committee member in International and Global Studies, Public Policy, and Civil War Era Studies at Gettysburg College. And most importantly, there's the part I like, he's a son of the soil, a shining example of the brilliant potential of Lavantil, or as we say, Lavanti. Please welcome Dr. Haki Mohandas Amani Williams.
Thank you very much. Welcome to these tiny shores of my country. I will be very brief because this is an emotional moment for me. I grew up on some hills called Lavantil. My mother had me at the age of 17, and she dropped out of high school. My grandmother raised us on her small pension. When she died, my brother and I, we sort of moved around Lavantil living with other people because by that time my mother had gone to the United States to sleep on people's floors, to endure racism and other kinds of discrimination, saving every penny to send home here to Trinidad so that we could stay afloat. I stand on the shoulders of brilliant, wonderful women. My father was never in my life, but my grandmother stood in that gap. I want to address you, the youth. My main message will be for you. As a child growing up in Lavantil, I never would have imagined that I would be bringing a peace conference to Trinbago. I want you to dream your wildest dreams. If ever there is a door closed to your ambition and your dreams climb through a window, I don't take no for an answer. I hope that you will dream wild dreams for a better Trinbago. Don't dream them tomorrow, start dreaming them now and working hard for it. I believe you can do it. You have brilliant, wonderful ideas. I wish you all the best. Thank you all for coming to Trinbago to have these awesome conversations. Welcome and thank you.
Dream, reimagine, yes, re-narrate. And speaking of reimagining and re-narration, in the spirit of uncolonized indigenous ways of being, peace building without artists is impossible. You can't do it without us. You need us. And it is my extreme pleasure to welcome to the stage a man who holds a very, very special place in my life as one of my mentors, Wendell Manwaring, singer, writer, actor, producer, teacher, sound designer, director, who has worked with Peter Minshall and the Callaloo Company, Derek Walcott and the Trinidad Theatre Workshop, Noble Douglas and Lilliput, to name a few. As a founding member, performer, and producer with the cutting-edge Rapso crew, Tricanal, he stewards another generation of performers known as the Big Black Box crew, which I am a member of. We want to welcome to the stage Wendell Manwaring.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I can sing it too. Morning, neighbor. Good morning, neighbor. Good morning, neighbor. Good morning, neighbor. Morning, neighbor. Good morning, neighbor. Good morning, neighbor. Good morning, neighbor. Morning. Give thanks and praises, yeah? As you say, what a blessed space, what a blessed time, what a beautiful time to be here, to be alive, to be in this moment, to witness the ceremony that I witnessed earlier on, to get all the vibrations in the evocations of the different elders and leaders in our midst, and to remark to my colleague next to me, what a beautiful space, what a mix-up place. How could we take that for granted? Yeah? How could we not see the blessing of that and not, as Minchell say, you know, the difference is there to delight, not to divide. I was watching Ravi G and a lyric from Bob Marley fly up in my head. Soon we'll find out who is the real revolutionary. The power to take words and transform them, to change them around, to our discomfort sometimes, because that's where we at in space and time. Angelique asked us to perform, but unfortunately one of the canals is in Canada at the moment, and we don't do it without each other. We tried once and it was horrible, so we don't make that mistake. So I thought, but she asked me if I could say a few words, and I thought, okay, every year in preparation for Carnival, in preparation for Juve, I just write a book. I just have to sit down and ask myself what time it is and what's really going on. 29 years we're doing this now. I don't take it for granted. Perpetuating this ritual, as I saw rituals being perpetuated this morning, and the importance of reconnecting to these rituals and not just treating it as bacchanal and chaos and confusion. And even in the midst of that bacchanal and chaos and confusion, there's an opportunity for disruption and to make good trouble and to change things, yeah? Tricanal 2023, out of the darkness. Now is the time to seize the moment once again, time to claim a space and make a statement in this time of overwhelming anxiety and uncertainty after 2 years of virtual inactivity. Time to take a leap of faith once again into the void, into the great unknown, and submit in the spirit and surrender to the moment, trusting and believing in one of the most enduring metaphors of the Juve, that out of the darkness must come light. Yes, for 2023, we're coming out of the darkness and back into the light of a new day, back from the brink of inactivity and uncertainty, back from the edge of oblivion and obscurity. This round's becoming black, like the void in time and space from which all things come. And I have a book that was gifted to me by a dear friend called Christopher Pinero of Native American Medicine. And there's a card called Raven, and Raven Magic is what we connected to for this instance, where it says, black is the color of the void, which is the home of all that is not yet in form. The void is the home of great mystery, which is the source of great spirit, the source of all energy. It is a place for finding and asking questions and finding answers. And after 2 years, we needed to go inside that void and ask some questions and find some answers as to where we is and what's going on. So every year we play a color. Black was the color we decided to play. Yeah? And every year we also play a character. Well, I don't like to say character because I was buffed resoundingly by Andy Patrick, who just play Black Indian and say he's not playing a character, he's a Black Indian. Right? So I have to learn to relanguage that. But we also draw on these archetypes. And the archetype we draw on this time around was the black jab, the jab molasses, the molasses devil. And legend has it, according to Jeff Henry in his book, Under the Mask, that the black jab or the jab molasses were the most difficult and recalcitrant slaves that were thrown into vats of boiling molasses. And on the Cambole moment, they re-emerged to get the comeuppance. Pay the devil, you go beyond the level. Ole olambe, oh give me a copper, to go back to hell. Ole ole. And these characters emerged at the first Cambole, that emancipation moment when the carnival transformed forever and ever, amen. And they claimed the streets. And they came to exact their revenge and to get the comeuppance. And how do we deal with these dark, dangerous forms? Well, we just have to claim them. Our ancestors brought them into being for some reason, and for some reason, some of them reasons still exist today. Because we say right now, Santi Manite, as the old Calypsonians say, as in without pity, without mercy, without humanity, I go send my scorpion to bite your Santape, Santi Manite. Because when you look around and you see what's going on with the violence and the confusion, you have to ask yourself, what's going on? And we say this wrongs is a very critical, crucial time where the AI has taken control of our daily interactions, and they have become increasingly infested by the toxic stew of misinformation and overstimulation, triggering a steady stream of invective and vitriolic rhetoric fueled by fear and anxiety and chronic insecurity, masking as bravado and bombast from all quarters, all adding to the terror and the trauma of the times. Indeed, nowadays the whole situation is so detrimental that the biggest challenge is to hold on to your mentals and pray not to go over or under or whatsoever. You get the picture? These days, it's really easy to go too deep down the rabbit hole or to spiral out of control and cross the line of no return. The question is how, or by what means and mechanisms are we to transcend, transmute, and transform the current situation and rise above the dross and activate our powers and capacity for dealing and healing and redeeming ourselves and each other? Well, fortunately, we don't have to look too far for the answers, for the secret is there hidden in plain sight, in the music and the mass and in our rituals and our traditions and in our imaginations. For we have walked this road before as a people and we have endured to this point. So now is the time once again to go down, deep down in the belly of the thing, straight to the heart of the vibes, right at the root of the rhythm is the power and the truth that we need to survive. And not just to survive, but thrive and blossom and bloom and flourish and become infectious like a virus. And take as many as we can along with us on an ever-expanding, soul-liberating, power-revealing excursion of imagination and expression, rooted in the living rituals and forms gifted to us by our ancestors. So let us once again revel in the joy of making and playing a mass, sweet music to help us deal and heal and imagine new possibilities of what we may be in this moment in time. A time for joy and fire in equal measure. A time for facing realities and projecting endless possibilities. Yes, we have the tools at our disposal. From the beginning, the word, the power, rhythm, rhyme, chant, call and response, singing, dancing, masking, and giving thanks and praise for life and love and living by participating in a living ritual and celebrating here and now in communion with each other and the ancient powers that guide and protect and reinforce our being and living and loving in this space again and again and again. And there's a little piece of the verse from a song that we wrote called Santi Manite. Roger sings it. I'm not going to sing it. I'll recite it. With all the madness that's going on, the power, the pain, the corruption, it could all be so overwhelming trying to gain a little understanding. But there is something at the root. Everything is energy. That is the truth. So if we really want to play our part, bring the tools, ignite the heart, light the candle, sound the horn, blow the whistle and beat the drum, ring the bell, cast the spell, sing the songs and raise the vibrations. The day is darkest before the dawn, so keep the vigil till morning come. I said the day is darkest before the dawn, so keep the vigil till morning come, because right now, Santi Manite. But in spite of that Santi Manite, this is a blessed space, and this is a blessed time. And if we take time to look around and see the beauty that surrounds us, we have no choice but to count our blessings and give thanks. So thank you again for inviting me in this blessed space, in this blessed time. Everybody walk in the power, walk in the light, and walk in the rhythm of a brand new time. Yeah, walk in the light, yeah? Give thanks.
I tell you, in the spirit of Dr. Williams saying, dream big. As we say, I remember when I was small and I used to hear about Wendell Manwaring and Trikanal, and when I grow up, I want to perform on the same stage with them. And I tell you, to be standing here, to be able to introduce him now, years later, I am the manifestation of dream big, little ones. I promise you that. I promise you that. Okay? And speaking of little ones dreaming big and accomplishing amazing things, I want to introduce you to a young, gifted, beautiful prodigy. When you hear the term chutney, you might know it as a condiment to accompany meals. But in Trinidad and Tobago, chutney refers to the vibrant, spicy combination of Bhojpuri folk music and the Scotch bonnet heat of Trinidad. A new sound emerging in the mid-20th century to capture thoughts, feelings, and joys of a people. To give an insight into this joy, we have a 9-year-old who is the youngest ever finalist in the 2023 Chutney Soca Monarch competition. Please welcome to the stage Caitlin Sultan, our young Chutney Soca queen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm your Chutney Soca Monarch Queen, Caitlin Sultan. I am 9 years old. And I'm going to do a few songs for you all. Well, I see my role model, Uncle Nival Chetlal here. And I see my songwriter for my song, what I won the Queen for Chutney Soca Monarch with, Uncle Vishan Mohammed. I want to thank you all so much for everything. I'm going to do a few songs for you all, and I hope you enjoy this one. I want to see a lot of dancers on the dance floor too. another. Love one another. Thank you. So I'm going to do some more party songs for you all. This one is called Tell Them Already. This is one of my really good hit songs. DJ, roll that tune. Even Sultan, Uncle Maha, let me go. Everybody keep asking me why I never sing like Chutney. Grandpa Sundarli when he gone, but all that he said did no, I will carry on. Tell them that I'm ready, I come to give them chutney. Tell them the 30 my age, I'm ready for this it. Tell them I'm too young to chutney. Tell them I'm too young to make you shake your waist. Don't tell me I'm too young to party. Don't tell me I'm too young to mash up the place. Shake it, go down. Rangda ke mohanwa, nikal gere ho. Rangda ke mohanwa, nikal gere ho. Rangda ke mohanwa. You got to put up your hand for the youth them. We got to support the youth and them. Wave up your hand for the youth them. We got to support the youth and them. Wave up your hand for the youth them. Put up your hands for the youth. Put up your hand for the youth them. Caitlin, come now we mash up the place. Ever since I small daddy said that I was in Chutney one day. So now that the timing is here, listen to me, daddy, please have no fear. Tell them that I'm ready, I come to give them chutney. Tell them the 30 my age, I'm ready for this day. Don't tell me I'm too young to chutney. Don't tell me I'm too young to make you shake your waist. Don't tell me I'm too young to party. Don't tell me I'm too young to mash up the place. Shake it, go down, shake it, baby, shake it, and go down to the ground. Shake it, baby, shake it, and go down to the ground. Shake up your whole body and jump it all around. You got to put up your hand for the youth them. We got to support the youth and them. Put up your hand for the youth them. We got to support the youth and them. Wave up your hand for the youth them. We got to support the youth and them. Say, put up your hand for the youth them. Caitlin, come now we mash up the place. Now they want me sing all over in Trinidad and in Guyana. Anywhere it is that I go, they're calling for me now to mash up the show. Tell them that I'm ready, I come to give them chutney. Tell them the 30 my age, I'm ready for this day. Don't tell me I'm too young to chutney. Don't tell me I'm too young to make you shake your waist. Don't tell me I'm too young to party. Don't tell me I'm too young to mash up the place. Shake it, go down, oh Bengali babu, oh Gayana babu. I am the very best of the Guyanese babu. I am the very best of the Guyanese babu. You got to put up your hand for the youth them. We got to support the youth and them. Put up your hand for the youth them. We got to support the youth and them. Wave up your hand for the youth them. Support the youth and them. The youth and them. Say, put up your hand for the youth them. Caitlin, come now we mash up the place. Tell them that I'm ready, I come to give them chutney. Tell them the 30 my age, I'm ready for this day. Tell me I'm too young to chutney. Tell me I'm too young to make you shake your waist. Don't tell me I'm too young to party. Don't tell me I'm too young to mash up the place.
Caitlin, you are the new champion. I said Caitlin, the people's champion. Bono.
So this is my last selection, and I want you all to really come up here and dance for this one, because this is the most hype up one. आया सपनों में मेरा दिल ले गया, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया, कर गया आज मिलने का वादा, कर गया आज मिलने का वादा, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया। Caitlin Sultan. नजरे में लागे वो पागल बना गया, नजरे में लागे वो पागल बना गया, खुशबू से बनकर वो दिल में समा गया, खुशबू से लागे सुंदर जो फूलों से ज्यादा, लागे सुंदर जो फूलों से ज्यादा, चुरा के मेरा, चुरा के मेरा, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया, आया सपनों में कोई शहजादा, आया सपनों में कोई शहजादा, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया। लेके बारात मेरे अंगना में आएगा, लेके बारात मेरे अंगना में आएगा, मांग भरेगा मेरी मुझे अपनाएगा, मेरा बोला बालम सीधा सादा, मेरा बोला बालम सीधा सादा, चुरा के मेरा, चुरा के मेरा, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया, आया सपनों में कोई शहजादा, आया सपनों में कोई शहजादा, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया, चुरा के मेरा दिल ले गया। Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Whew, I tell you, if we're talking about indigenous ways of knowing and embodying, I think our future is in bright and capable hands. Thank you so much again, Caitlin. And speaking of the future, the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine, is an important partner of IPRA 2023. And we are very happy to have Dr. Suan Bharat, head of the Institute of Gender and Developmental Studies. Dr. Bharat is a graduate of the University of the West Indies. She holds a BA in Media and Communication Studies with Political Science, an MA in Communication Studies, and a PhD in interdisciplinary gender studies. Her current research areas are interpersonal interaction, social media use, gender and ethnic identities, beauty and body image, and carnival studies. And she is dedicated to gender awareness and sensitivity training through face-to-face sessions and mass media outreach. That is what we call a mouthful. She is doing the work, and we are extremely pleased to have her. Welcome, Dr. Suan Bharat, head of the Institute for Gender and Developmental Studies, UWI.
Thank you very much. All honor to our elders present, to our children, all honor to you, to the organizers, to the specially invited guests, to our representatives from the government, to our artists, to our activists, our knowers and doers in all forms. And of course, beyond that, all protocols observed. Good morning, everyone. I love it. Need to tell my students to respond that way. It is the pleasure of the IGDS to join with the International Peace Research Association and all partners in this moment of visioning, of contemplating together the world we wish to build or rebuild, a world less contentious, oppressive, and unjust. We celebrate the knowledge sharing and knowledge building that we will immerse ourselves in over the next 5 days. Understanding that our quest for justice-based societies must be securely grounded in multiple ways of knowing and doing, with a clear acknowledgement of our histories, our inheritances, and our sites of learning, unlearning, and relearning. We value this time to reflect with academics, activists, artists, and more on the past, present, and future of peace and justice practice and scholarship. To contemplate our futures, to envision peace and justice, we contend with multiple contemporary threats. These threats are to human security and the security of our ecosystems and the services they provide. Indeed, we are confronted by threats of poverty, disease, environmental degradation, state, ethnic, religious, and other conflicts, emerging and re-emerging fundamentalisms and extremisms, refugee crises, human rights violations, ultimately, violence in all forms, with gender-based violence being the most troubling, I dare say, especially at the interpersonal level. This week, we confront these and other emerging and inherited challenges unapologetically and with purpose, decisively and proactively protecting our future. We also recognize that we must contend with long-standing accounts of ourselves and deeply embedded cultural norms, beliefs, and assumptions that frame or mediate our existence. Legacy, especially where it is most valued, often troubles transformation. Its rootedness can blind as much as it can reveal. It can stymie change, or it can make such wholly possible. Therefore, the themes and sub-themes of this conference draw us into an interactive and inclusive exchange that sets the stage for both strategic and pragmatic collective actions to achieve a lasting peace for all. That peace we imagine as the absence of every form of structural violence that undermine equality, equity, and justice. The Institute for Gender and Development Studies has long been committed to this approach. The IGDS is founded on the understanding that social, cultural, and historical processes have constructed and reproduced unequal gender relations within society and all other forms of social, political, and material relations of asymmetry or inequality. Thus, we emphasize scholarship and teaching that is broadly comparative and recognizes that gender is a fundamental category of analysis in all disciplines, in all considerations. We encourage our students especially to think critically about the multiple axes of power And these axes of power operate through gender and all social identities and practices, and are constructed as real and thus must be challenged. We continue that commitment through partnership today, honoring the space that the IPRA has created for the contemplation, questioning, and planning for futures that sustain us all. We value these futures as sites of freedom, of agency, of choice, and dignity for all. We see the elimination of the specter of violence, especially violence that is normalized or trivialized as par for the course. We uphold futures that account for the diversity of human experiences, with such diversity seen not as a threat, but an opportunity for enhanced critical and creative thinking and action. We commit to challenging structures and systems of inequality, inequity, and injustice that undermine the possibility of sustained peace into this future that we all hope for. This future that cultivates space for all to participate in decision-making that affects our lives and the lives of generations to come. Let us be a stranger to the full stop. Thank you for joining us in this commitment, and it is my honor to say welcome.
I love it. Let's be a stranger to the full stop. Freedom and agency for all. Because emancipation and liberation is not a full stop, eh? It is continuous. All of this is part of the continued cycle of emancipation and liberation for all. That being said, we bring to the stage Girl Be Heard, an organization that builds leaders, change makers, activists through developing, amplifying, and celebrating the voices of girls and women through socially conscious theater making, storytelling, and performance. Coming to the stage, we have Jaden Pecom, Danira Huggins, Lily Jane Toms without an H, and Ariel John of Girl Be Heard.
Good morning, all. So I am Jaden Pecom, just examining. All right. So this is my piece. Let there be peace on earth. Let there be peace on earth. Let there be peace on earth. Let there be peace. What's your points? What is the point? There's no points. The decisions we make today don't always guarantee peace tomorrow, so what's the point? You live for today because tomorrow is not guaranteed. So you're not tired of living day to day when there's no point? So what's the point? What is the point? What are we sacrificing for? What's the point? What is the point? There's no point. What's the point? The point where I realize all the moments of peace. The pieces of peace that make life, no matter how big or small, these are the moments of peace. Peace is laughing at jokes, at still jokes. Peace is good food. Peace is time with friends. Peace is finding money in your pockets, even when it's $1. Peace is sitting in traffic. Peace is good food. Peace is running late, but you actually mess up the time, so you're actually on time. Peace is a nostalgic moment. Peace is an embarrassing memory. Peace is mangoes, is trees, is the birds in the trees, is quarreling with the birds because they eat the mango you was eyeing. Peace is everywhere and anything. It's everything and anytime. Peace is a cardboard box and a boardhouse. It's a hotel room and a mansion. Peace is the corner by the doubles vendor. Peace is the arms of a friend or a freezing or a heated classroom. Peace is the place where I am uncensored and my unfiltered self. Peace is where I'm free to be me and everything that I am, peace is worth the sacrifice. Peace is the long hours, the sleepless nights, the standing up in the hot sun. Peace is home-cooked food on payday. Peace is worth it. These are the pieces of peace. Yes, it's different for everyone, but this is my peace. Peace.
Hi everyone, my name is Dinara Huggins. The name of my poem is called Abundance. I hope you enjoy. Caribbean women are some of the most loving in existence. We have a flavor like no other and tongues that's sharper than a cutlass being kissed by a grinder. But some of us are treated like Brownie the Potter who always standing up in front of fast food restaurants. A lot of this is due to skin color and a superiority complex. I don't understand why being darker or lighter should be an issue. The Caribbean more mixed up than Granny's special drink. All of us together. Every herb and spice is different in its own way. Beneath that pigment is an unmatched rhythm. Beneath that pigment is an unmatched rhythm. Beneath that pigment is I need a moment. Okay. Beneath that pigment holds unmatched rhythm. A unique kind of oil in my bones you can't find anywhere else with plenty attitude. And great matchmakers, bringing together all sorts of foods you didn't think could mingle with each other. Strong, gorgeous women, created by the Almighty. Tints, shades, and tones galore, distinctively all over. Don't get me wrong. You can have a preference. Just don't put down another complexion to get your point across. We are dependable and can stand by your side, helping you along the way. Yet, some of you and your superiority complex that shoved where the sun doesn't have access to shine can't seem to notice that your behavior towards us is disgusting. We can work the same amount of hours and receive the same quality of bread, but never the same quantity. Unfairness runs like a standpipe and audacity looks like it is selling your everyday grocery. So, I guess putting us against each other and thinking that some of our skin colors are less appealing isn't good enough. We have to also work harder to try and match your pay like a deer outrunning a lion. Maybe one day we'll have a change which will make all of these marches, flyers, and poems, among other things, worth it. A time when all of this will just be a distant memory and future generations won't have to work 3 times as hard to prove that they are useful.
Hello. Hi. Good morning. My name is actually Lily Jane Thomas with an H and an A. It's fine. This piece is called Inner Peace. Inner peace. Inner peace. Inner peace in this world is actually ironic. The idea of fighting for peace, that is. I mean, writing this piece was a war in itself, had to battle myself, pull several thoughts from different shelves to answer this question. How can there be peace in a world that was in theory built in chaos and continues to exist in disharmony and imperfection? See, our reality is never constant. And so peace will always come and go just like the tide as it wrestles with its counterparts. Yet, conflict and tension gives us purpose. See, come to think of it, everyone here might be out of a job if we didn't have problems to solve. See, we are passionate about keeping order. This is the energy that we feed each other. We like tweaking this, amending that, bringing wrongdoers to justice. But we would be bored out of our minds if we didn't have crimes. For what's a yin without a yang, a megamind without a metroman? Let's imagine for a second that we use these valuable time and resources to say, end world hunger. Well, don't be so narrow, for peace is that marrow that runs through the bones of such operations. See, we as peacekeepers must be prepared for war. God, please be with the Ukrainians as they eat their rations. No rationale, no good reasons. Leave the people and so they can eat in peace. Yet, in the future, we may applaud these warlords and question them about their strategies. Because even when our siblings choose to barge into our rooms just to knock things over, bust a fat just to trigger that anger, we still love them, right? See, peace and war must exist beside each other in a constant struggle for power. Hey, don't get me wrong. Peace must always win that battle. So we as peacekeepers must be prepared for war. For how can we live in a world with injustice and not create institutions to right wrongdoings? How can we witness inequality and not use our strengths and balance things out? But the catch is, unless we become good beings, not partaking in evil, there will always be a struggle to keep the peace. And inner peace is the acceptance of this struggle. The acceptance that we are neither good or bad, but a combination of the two. And we must make sure that they stay in check. I'm feeling positive today, check. Equal rights, equal state, check. All are we is one family, check. Guti and Maniku is people too, check. Leave the school child alone, check. Vote for performance and not party, check. I have a duty of care to sweet tea and tea. Check. So be my peacemakers. Fight to make peace and check those politicians and corporations who have lost the struggle to darkness. Check them back into light and bring them to justice. It's a good thing behavior can be learned. And when repercussions, things harden, we know not to do it again. Good. When reason steps in and intercept bad ideas, we can have a change of heart. So be my peacekeepers. Spread the message that light should overcome evil every time. Peace and order must be maintained, but accept and understand, my peacekeepers, that the constant struggle against chaos will always remain. And it's always amusing to see who will win that battle over and over again. Thank you.
Peace, peacekeeping, problem solving, justice, Caribbean womanness, and our ability, no matter what, to keep going. We say thank you so much to Jaden, Danira, and Lily Jane of Girl Be Heard. And now we move on. We are pleased to have with us recently appointed Deputy Director, Gender Affairs Division, Office of the Prime Minister. Let me make sure I get his name right because it is a sticking point for him on social media. Mr. Amilcar Sanatan. There we go. He's an artist, an academic, an activist doing research and social leadership centered on men and masculinities in the Caribbean and Americas, gender justice, literary and performing arts, youth and student development, and human geography. Sanatan holds a BSc in psychology and an MPhil in interdisciplinary gender studies from the University of the West Indies. Bringing to the stage, well, he's already here, Mr. Amilcar Sanatan.
You know, everything she said about me is not true, but I think the contents of my addresses. So, good morning to the Honorable Penelope Beckles, Minister of Planning and Development, and executive representatives of the ministry. Buenos dias a todos, greetings all. I want to thank the International Executive and Local Conference Organizing Committee of the International Peace Research Association for extending the invitation to participate to the Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy, Minister with the responsibility for gender and child affairs. She sends her best to the leadership of the IPRA, conference delegates and attendees today. I also share greetings from the Director of Gender Affairs, Ms. Shelley-Ann Hart, who could not be with us this morning. Today, I will highlight the intersections of gender equality, youth, and the national interest. A life free from violence, a social experience without discrimination, a space where each woman, man, girl, and boy is equal, is in the national interest because equality is a precondition for peace. While large-scale geopolitical conflicts and national economic performance indicators tend to grab the attention of those tracking the national interest, the protection and the promotion of the rights in everyday life is equally important to it. For example, according to the 2022 UNESCO report, at the global level, 132 million boys are out of school. Notably, there are harmful gender inequalities that must be addressed related to the education of girls and young women. But I will focus on the development challenges related to young men and boys for now. Examining education trends for the Caribbean region in 2021, 26% of students at the CSEC O level failed English A overall. This is a compulsory exam that is one of the requirements for an ordinary level certificate for students in the secondary school system. It's also a useful measure to understand functional literacy in the English language. Notably, 33% male students failed this examination. Male academic underachievement, which has increasingly become understood as male disengagement in the education, presents several development challenges for nation states in the Caribbean. The re-engagement of boys in education is important to the national interest. First, we must address the disparity by understanding the social attitudes and beliefs that prevent boys from participating fully in the classroom. Gender Affairs in the Office of the Prime Minister will commence its next cohort of the Barbershop Initiative in schools from June 2023 to stimulate conversations among adolescent males in schools, challenging gender stereotypes, especially those in education, while we promote positive models of masculinity. In the wider picture of the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, we are committed to providing post-secondary and second and third educational opportunities to youth who are not in employment or formal educational training as part of our commitment to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. As the homegrown professor, Hakeem Williams, co-chair of the International Planning Committee, he noted, growing up in Laventille, where he dreamt of a life beyond deprivation, education was the conduit to those dreams. Promoting educational opportunities for boys and young men in Laventille and each part of the country is in the national interest. In a separate but related experience to young people's lives is the task to prevent, punish, and eliminate gender-based violence in Trinidad and Tobago. The violence experienced by young people in society is often a sign for us to understand the extent to which social inequality and exclusion are realities. Due to cultural patterns of violence and gender inequality, young women and girls disproportionately experience GBV. In the National Women Health Survey for Trinidad and Tobago, 30% of ever-partnered women experience physical and/or sexual violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. That was the report. The National Policy on Gender and Development since 2018 specifically responds to and intervenes in gender-based violence. As part of our public response, we have developed the National Shelter for Domestic Violence Survivors, provide economic empowerment interventions for survivors, and continue to promote youth as champions for ending gender-based violence and gender equality. We also acknowledge the ongoing consciousness-raising role of civil society organizations, such as the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and their first-time, last-time intervention to redress GBV in schools. Something that's also interesting, in the OPM, we are looking at the role of steel pan organizations as vehicles for social change. Steel pan organizations in the 21st century are nearly young women-led safe spaces for discipline, learning, and cultural resilience. These are the development actors we want to work with. The rights of women and girls to live a life free from violence and discrimination is in the national interest. All of these matters are understood and responded to by various sectors of society. We are committed to creating peace. The government of Trinidad and Tobago has initiated a national effort to advance a public health approach to crime and violence. This must include the empowerment of youth as actors for peace and gender-responsive interventions. I strongly urge all speakers, listeners, and change makers in this conference to focus on the importance of the national interest. Are you fully invested in being a driver of national development in Trinidad and Tobago, in the Caribbean and Latin America, or your respective country? In Gender and Child Affairs in the Office of the Prime Minister, we are conscious of state accountability, which means that we must work full-time to protect the rights of women, girls, men, and boys in all social and economic conditions. We must rise to the challenge to develop public infrastructure and promote the transformation of cultural values to ensure that no one is made vulnerable in our society. And we must comply with and meet the obligations of the state at the national, regional, and international level. The political, social, and economic equality of women and men, especially our youth, young women and young men, are fundamental to the development of a peaceful society. Equality is a precondition for peace. Jóvenes y estudiantes para la igualdad de género para todos, youth for gender equality, students for gender equality for all. Thank you.
a lot to think about, the meanings of nation and state, on colonizing and indigenizing our education system, you know, what we teaching we self, about we self, yeah? How we are affirming and validating our ways of knowing across the spectrum of gender, embodied, performed. Yes, all right, Mr. Sanatan, I see you and we hear you. Thank you so much for sharing with us this morning. Next up, we have one of the most outstanding voices in Trinidad and Tobago, and we say that without apology and with a lot of confidence. His name is Neval Chaitlal. Yeah. He's won major competitions, including Digital Rising Star, Mastana Bahar. He's a two-time Chutney Soca monarch, and he moves seamlessly between classical Indian compositions and mainstream soca, proof positive of the unifying power of music. Get ready for a treat. Bringing to the stage, Neval Chaitlal.
Namaste. I bow to the divine within each one of you. The song you're about to listen to is entitled Unity Chant. This chant was inspired by my Sadguru Deva, Parama Puja Shri 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 Ganapati Sachidananda Swamiji, who was drawn to our beloved islands way back in 1976. Swamiji has been visiting our shores and propagating the message of unity in diversity, essentially saying, all names and all forms belong to the one nameless, formless divinity. In 2018, at the main ashrama, Datta Yoga Center in Karapichaima, home to the 85-foot tall Karya Siddhi Hanuman, Sri Swamiji gave a mantra for the peace and protection of Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, the entire creation. Shivaya Rudraya Namaha. About a month ago, Swamiji returned to Trinidad for the first time after the pandemic to fulfill his promise to conduct Rudra Mahayagya, all for the peace and protection of sweet TNT and the entire globe. How blessed we are today to continue the discourse and to focus and contemplate on peacefully coexisting. Swamiji sees our islands as a unique melting pot of so many creeds and races that can teach the world how to live together in unity. This unity chant is a work in progress and will only be complete when the representatives of all faiths and traditions add their vibrations to this peace. Please pray with me for the peace and protection of one and all, and please accept the invitation to add to this collective prayer. Jai Guru Datta, Shri Guru Datta. Shivaya Rudraya Namaha, 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 Shivaya Rudraya Namaha. My Jesus, my Savior,
comfort, my shelter. Allahu Allah, 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 Allah Shivaya Rudraya Namaha, 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 Shivaya Rudraya Namaha, Allah Shivaya Rudraya Namaha, Allah Shivaya Rudraya Namaha, Allah Shivaya Rudraya Jesus, Shivaya Rudraya
Wow. Wow. I told you all we were in for a treat, but whew. Neval, I want you to promise me that when you're ready to put movement to that piece, that you call me. Thank you. Okay, great. All right, we are getting to the end, coming close to the end of our program this morning. And as we get closer to bringing the curtain down for our opening, we welcome to the stage another powerhouse. She's actually the Member of Parliament for Arima and Minister for Planning and Development, the Honorable Penelope Beckles. She's been in active service in our Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago since 1995. That was when I wrote Common Entrance. A lawyer by training, Ms. Beckles pursued her tertiary education level at the University of the West Indies, attending both the St. Augustine and Cayfield campuses, as well as the Hugh Wooding Law School. As a resident of Arima, she is deeply involved in the Arima Foundation for the Advancement of Women and Children and the Santa Rosa Heights Community Group. Please join us in welcoming the Honorable Penelope Beckles.
So when someone introduces you by saying they were in Common Entrance, right? Well, I'm glad you all chuckled, right? Because that is really to give an indication as to the fact that I'm just 16, right? So let me just say that it's very difficult to come at the end of the program, and I know you all are probably getting tired. Yes, so that I promise I'm not going to be too long, okay? But always remember that in Parliament we are allowed to speak for 45 minutes with an extension of 15. So all in favor? Aye. Okay, so I have 60 minutes. So let me, of course, acknowledge my two good friends, the Canadian ambassador, His Excellency Arif Kishani, as well as the German ambassador, Her Excellency Yute Kong, Professor Matt Mayer, Secretary General of the IPRA and International Co-Chair, Dr. Hakim Mohandas Amani Williams, International Co-Chair, the local host committee chairs, Angelique Nixon, and let me also specially acknowledge Mr. Taylor Springer, from, of course, my own constituency, Chief Ricardo Barrath of the Santa Rosa First Peoples, as well as everyone else from the First Peoples, spiritual leaders, Dr. Sue Barrath, head of the Institute of Gender and Development Studies, and special acknowledgement to teachers and children from secondary and primary schools, as well as the Barataria Anglican Primary School, the Barataria RC School, the Belmont Primary Government School, and of course I would never complete my list without specially acknowledging the Poet Laureate of the City of Port of Spain, Pearl Entu Springer. And of course, my sister, Akila Jaramogi. I'm honored to be speaking with you at this inaugural convening of the International Peace Research Association 5-day conference in the Caribbean. I'm glad that you have chosen Trinidad and Tobago as the venue. It's a privilege, therefore, to welcome you to, of course, our sunny and beautiful Trinidad and Tobago, as you rightly stated in your conference page, stands at the crossroads of the Americas. Ours is a country of diverse cultures, originating from our ancestral indigenous peoples to peoples who were transported from all corners of the globe. The theme of this conference, Rooted Futures, Collective Visions of Peace and Justice, in my view, gives credence to the fact that we, as the collective consciousness of humankind, must work together to build back better, leaving no one behind, so that all voices, from the biggest to the smallest, are heard and taken into account. Peace is often defined as the absence of war, whilst the twin concepts of peace and justice speak to the lack of conflict and the absence of violence between diverse social groups. Justice refers to two things: the notion of giving to everybody what they have the right to, and the institution that serve human beings with accountability, effectiveness, inclusiveness, and equity. If we are to succeed in achieving peace and justice for all, our responses must be grounded in shared vision and our collective will to provide a sustainable future for present and future generations in peaceful and inclusive societies. Achieving peace and justice are paramount. They are the most appropriate higher order goals in our hierarchy or achievements. They are the overarching concepts of that underpin every aspect of the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are people-centered and address cross-cutting issues of gender, the environment, and of course, human security. In the same vein, Trinidad and Tobago's National Development Strategy, called Vision 2030, has integrated and prioritized the 17 Sustainable Development Goals across 5 thematic areas. I would like to call your attention to a side-by-side comparison of Sustainable Development Goal 16 with Theme 2 of our National Development Vision 2030, both of which I believe are of relevance to the concepts of peace and justice. The SDG 16 calls for promoting peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, providing access to justice for all, and building effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. From our National Development Plan, Vision 2030, Theme 2, which addresses delivering good governance and service excellence, which is our building block for achieving a society grounded on the principles of social justice and governance based on principles of participation and inclusion. It is worthy of note that the glue which cements our vision rests in the concept that people must be first at all times. As the Minister of Planning and Development, I have been asked to share my vision for Trinidad and Tobago as it relates to the work of the ministry, as well as to speak to pressing issues of our time: gender-based violence, economic insecurity, and climate crisis. The ministry's mandate is national development, concentrated on economic, social, spatial, and environmental development. In that role, it provides the necessary policy guidance and development, technical support, advice and feasibility assessment for national advancement, and also serves as a focal point for the international and regional agencies such as the Inter-American Development Bank, the United Nations system agencies, the European Union, and the Caribbean Development Bank. It is responsible for executing, monitoring, and reporting on the implementation of the Vision 2030 and the SDGs. So a little bit first on the issue of climate change, and as you know, small islands like Trinidad and Tobago, including indigenous peoples, are facing the brunt of the climate impacts. And with the current levels of global warming, we are set to see an increase in global average temperature for about 3 to 4 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. At this level of warming, life on Earth will be very challenging. And I know that even in the last couple of days, many people have been complaining about the heat. So imagine what it will be like in the next couple of years if the issue of climate change is not addressed. It has already caused damage, and I'm just referring a bit to Trinidad and Tobago, to some historical sites. For example, soil erosion in South Trinidad has impacted on historical graves. Sea level rise is projected to affect a significant portion of downtown Port-of-Spain, threatening some of our built heritage. In the main, climate change will have devastating consequences for peoples around the world, and its impact will disproportionately affect the poorest and the most vulnerable peoples. Given the disproportionate impact of climate change on vulnerable groups such as women, children, indigenous population, and other vulnerable communities, which are expected to get only worse as the rate of climate change increases, such groups must be given fair and equitable treatment in facing the climate challenge. The negative climate impact is being addressed through concerted action in alignment with national policy. And so I made reference previously to our country's 2030 vision, which address, among other things, environmental issues of the SDGs, the National Environmental Policy, and the National Climate Change Policy. The Ministry of Planning and Development has also completed the Just Transition Policy as well as the National Determined Contribution Policy and is awaiting approvals from Cabinet. At the national level, we have unveiled policy initiatives aimed at addressing the issue of climate change with the objective of reducing our output of greenhouse gases, mitigating the effects of climate change on the population. And I'll just share with you that these includes a carbon reduction strategy, which is the national determined contributions under the Paris Agreement, developing detailed inventories for greenhouse gas emissions, developing functional measurement, developing a national adaptation plan, developing a long-term strategy for reducing greenhouse gases, engaging with the Green Climate Fund, developing an e-mobility policy to catalyze the penetration of electric vehicles in the transportation mix, increasing fines for illegal timbering and oil pollution, the construction of a 112 megawatt solar photovoltaic system. And our Honorable Prime Minister has given a commitment for further enhancement of renewable energy capacity to 30% by 2030 when he addressed the Leaders' Summit in Glasgow. So just a bit now about the issue of economic insecurity. Economic insecurity is a threat to the attainment of Sustainable Development Goals, or SDG, with attendant risks to the well-being of both individuals and groups of communities the world over. Contributing factors to economic insecurity include unemployment, underemployment, sickness and disability, widowhood and union dissolution, and life cycle and old age. Each of these factors has played a part in the quality of life the world over, especially when viewed under the lens of the recent COVID-19 pandemic. An increase in the levels of economic insecurity is associated with the convergence of these factors. Societies and communities that are not able to provide insulation from the impacts of these factors are more likely to experience longer post-pandemic recuperation periods. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, just to share with you how we responded to the threats of our population, we developed what is called a roadmap to recovery, or IPRA, which of course took into account the importance of responding to the impact of active threats to the national economy and the welfare of its citizens. So that roadmap consisted of 4 objectives: social protection, which is really leaving no one behind; retain and create jobs; boost aggregate demand; and of course minimize and remediate supply disruptions. And we understand that these measures undertaken in fulfilling these objectives have included the most important area, which is the issue of social support services, making sure that you meet all the vulnerable individuals in communities, infusing them with capital for boost activity, for employment generation, and of course promoting increased levels of household spending in order to maintain consumption at levels high enough to keep the economy running. The net effect of the intervention by the government to date ensured that vulnerable citizens have been afforded a level of social support and protection that has enabled them to ride out the worst of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And just on the last issue, which is gender-based violence, Goal 5 of the SDG promotes gender equality. Goal 5 also supports Theme 1 of the country's Vision 2030, which states the importance of putting people first, nurturing our greatest asset, under the themes of eradicating gender-based violence and supporting the national policy on gender and development, including in our multi-country sustainable development framework 2021 to 2026, where one of the priority themes is safety, justice, and the rule of law. To this end, we work assiduously and do our part in creating opportunities for women to achieve gender parity, development, and protection. Against this background, I would like to mention the collaboration that takes place between United Nations Agency UN Women. The goal of the UN Women is, as you know, to promote gender equality and the empowerment of women. Among its 4 strategic priorities are that women lead, participate in, and benefit equally from governance systems, and it's in a strategic plan 2022 to 2025. There are 4 thematic areas: governance and participation in public life, women's economic empowerment, ending violence against women and girls, and women, peace and security, humanitarian action, and disaster risk reduction. Work in these thematic and policy areas will go a long way to benefit women in our country. And just very important, just to give you just a bit of data, in Trinidad and Tobago, 83.3% of legal framework promote and enforce and monitor gender equality under the under the SDG indicators with a focus on violence against women. As of February 2021, 26.2% of seats in the parliament were held by women. However, women, only hold 30% of parliamentary seats and 27% of private sector executive-led positions. Female participation in the labor market is 51% compared to 74% for men, and the average male earns almost 25% more than their female counterparts. In conclusion, the government of Trinidad and Tobago considers it a priority responsibility to judiciously manage interaction between citizens and the environment with the aim of safeguarding human health, peace, prosperity, and social justice, while yielding optimum sustainable benefits for present and future generations. It is my belief that the concept of our collective vision must be rooted in peace and justice, which ought to be applied to the issues of climate change crisis, gender-based violence, and economic insecurity. We therefore must work together in a spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood, in collaboration and partnership toward achieving a vision that will be for the common good, for humanity, that rests on the pillars of peace and justice for all. I want to take this opportunity, of course, to thank you, and may the ancestral spirits be with you and guide your conference proceeding for the next 5 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thinking about how uncolonizing and decolonizing and indigeneity is all in conversation with policy. You know, those are the tough conversations that we have to have. And listen, me saying, referencing the length of time that you've been in service has nothing to do with age, because you are timeless, ma'am. Timeless. Okay? It's just about how long you have been an example of woman warriorhood and leaving a footprint, a very indelible footprint in this space. So we thank you for that. Thank you. All right, folks, this is where I get ready to leave you, because I am bringing to the stage two more powerhouses, two of the women who've been doing heavy, heavy lifting to pull this whole thing together. One in particular that I call Sister. This is an international conference, but it is firmly grounded in the energy of Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, to take us through a few presentations as well as move a vote of thanks, let us please welcome Dr. Angelique V. Nixon, as well as my sister friend from this beautiful woman that sits here, Attila Springer, both co-chairs of the IPRA Local Organizing Committee.
Good morning, everyone. Morning. We are on time. This is great, wonderful. We have so many people to thank for this occasion. We have a lot of people to thank, but I think I would like to start by thanking my community of elders who walk with me, who buff me, who guide me, and when I call them and tell them that I have a weird idea, they say, okay, well, maybe you could do this. And so when Professor Hakim and Professor Matt reached out and invited me to be part of the local organizing committee, these were the first people that I called for their advice. Sri Raviji of the Hindu Prachar Kendra, give thanks for you. My Olwo Olutunji Samorin, who he had to leave However, I give thanks for him. Iya, Akila Jaramogi, who I've been on many adventures with, I give thanks for you. And the woman who gave me life and who has given me a lot of my clarity and sense of purpose, sense of peace and justice, Iya Entu Ifaniwa Springer. I give thanks for you.
Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Thank you so much. I want to say first thank you to Attila, my sister, Attila Springer, who has worked tirelessly to make this happen. Thank you. And we have a lot of people to thank, so give us just a little grace. Thank you all for being here. We want to especially thank everyone who's blessed us on the stage today, all of our performers, our speakers. We want to especially thank our host, Abeo. Thank you so much. Your presence has been absolutely phenomenal. I want to just especially also thank our IPRA committee team, committees, multiple committees, our local committee, Kim, Professor Matt, thank you so much for your guidance, for bringing the conference here, giving us this opportunity to share and be in exchange with everyone here today. We want to thank Minister Beckles. Minister Beckles, for taking time to be here with us today. We know how busy you are and blessing us with such powerful words. It is truly an honor to have a fierce politician in our midst and fierce leader. We need that more than ever, so it is a blessing. Thank you. I want to thank all of the young people here today, the students from primary schools around Barataria and Belmont, and the teachers. A special thanks to Giselle Butcher and all of the teachers here today. Please, you are the future. Young people, give yourselves, all of the youth, give yourselves a round of applause. And I would like to also acknowledge and thank the First Peoples, Chief Barrett, who's here, and all of the First Peoples who joined us today for the ceremony. Our drummers, our performers who blessed the stage, and everyone who was a part of our program today. We just want to give thanks for you. I also want to give a special recognition to Akila and her team at Fonzaman for providing the baby trees that are going to be taken to communities and planted. Young folks, you have the trees. We entrust you with the care and growing and planting. And of course, we know we will want to follow up with you around that care and being a part of the Fonzaman visioning of entrusting young people with the knowledge to plant and grow. Not only actually physically, but also symbolically as we nurture ourselves in peace and justice. And I want to continue and just say a really enormous thanks to all of the volunteers today, our local committee, from CAISO to the network of NGOs, to all of our committee members who are here, and the Institute for Gender and Development Studies. Special shout out to my colleague, Dr. Barrett, and the IGDS undergraduate students, Ignite, Mentorship, Activist Group, they are here, and the IGDS graduate students who've joined us today from the University of the West Indies, who will be around helping us. IGDS t-shirts on in the back, Zahn is waving. So will be helping us all week at the conference, so a special thanks to them. And also a special thanks to the Deaf Empowerment Association, who's partnered with us, and our sign interpreter here, Joanna Ray Reyes. And of course, just giving a special recognition to our speakers who've joined us today, Dr. Barrett, Amilka Sanatan, Wendell Manwaran, and again, Professor Beckles. I'm sorry. Minister Beckles, I've granted you a title.
She gave you an extra title, yes.
Great, and I also want to just thank the Hilton Hotel and the staff. They've been amazing. And our sound crew for today. Thank you so much.
I just want to say something special. You know, sometimes people say no, but the universe says yes. And yesterday somebody said no to us. And a lot of prayers went up to a host of deities, ancestors, etc. And within 15 minutes, our prayers were answered with somebody whose name means creation. That is what he told me last night when we were here. Late Shristi Ramdas, bless you. Thank you so much for your team, for coming out and pulling us out and giving us, you know, more than we could have managed. I have to give it the Trinity, manage from a team, you know, give thanks.
Give thanks. Yes, you came through.
Came through.
And we want to acknowledge what you are seeing around you, the beautiful art pieces. We have 28 local artists in these rooms with us for the whole week. And we have to thank the Art Society of Trinidad and Tobago, special shout out to Kiba, who has curated this beautiful collection. There is a catalog on the IPRA website. You can download and review the descriptions of the art. You can also walk around the spaces, please, and look at the art.
And buy it as well. Thank you.
And also a shout out to Lost Tribe for featuring some of their costumes also in our rooms for the rest of our time together. Thank you. We have a list of partners and sponsor organizations on the website. We want to just thank them all collectively, folks who have donated, folks who have joined us in partnership. And
I would just like to call them out by name, because when people give you things, you must say thanks in public, right? So, Reiki Home, Columbia University Negotiation and Conflict Resolution, Gettysburg College, George Arnold Program, Education for Sustainable Peace, UE Institute for Gender and Development Studies, St. Augustine Unit, Columbia Climate School, Advanced Consortium on Cooperation, Conflict and Complexity, the Center for Global Peace, Understanding and Peacemaking, Justice and Peace at Georgetown University, Department of Philosophy, University of San Francisco, School of Education, Earlham College, Office of Diversity and Inclusion, Department of Political Science, Instituto de la Paz y los Conflictos, Africana Studies, Gettysburg College, Creators of Peace, and of course, the International Peace Research Association. They gave us $1 to be able to do this, so we give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks. We have also a lot of local partners, the African Diaspora Consortium, the Caribbean Center for Human Rights, the Cropper Foundation, Fonzamans Community Reforestation Project, Living Water Community, Mars Playhouse, Youth Bridge Foundation, Morton Deutsch, International Center for Cooperation and Conflict Resolution, Teachers College, American Heritage Foundation, Network of NGOs of Trinidad and Tobago for the Advancement of Women, Peace and Justice Studies minor, Tufts University, Peace, Justice and Human Rights Program, John Carroll University, Resistance Studies Initiative, UMass Amherst, Renegade Steel Orchestra, and I hope to see all of you at Renegades on Friday evening for our special plenary on the role of Pan as a tool for healing in the community. That's a really special session that we we hope that all of you will attend.
It's a public open event.
Roots Yard, and another amazing space where we'll be having an event on Saturday evening. University for Peace, SEWA International, Social Justice and Cultural Studies, Seattle Pacific University, and Upmarket, who you will get to see some of their finest vendors over there. And yes, please also buy the things. Please support local entrepreneurs.
Yes, and with that said, we have an amazing list of people to thank. We have done that. We are also wanting to just let you know that the marketplace is open, so please go in and check it out.
Yes, and I am going to quickly invite Prof. Matt and Hakim to come up on stage and do some very, very quick. Prof. Matt said they are scholars, they are university people, so they give people books. So.
And it's true, when you come into our midst, you could be a high-ranking minister and member of parliament, but you become a professor just by being here. So yeah, it works. You could be, you know, as we said, an undergraduate student or maybe younger, and you become a professor. So we're all professors here now. We learn from each other. We're going to be super quick. There are many times and many opportunities to give gifts. The gift giving will just begin now. It will not end. Some of you who you know very well, we didn't bring your gifts today, but we're going to give some gifts to people who are especially here today. So some will get your gifts later, and some deserve them from even before we knew each other. I think we want to ask the folks we're just giving a few gifts to now to come on stage so we can have the beginning of a group photo of some of the key folk. And maybe, Angelique, you can't be leaving the stage now. I don't know where you think you're going. Oh, you're going to help get people. I see. Okay. Let's begin where we began today. I'm just going to say one thing. People are going to get one of two books, but one of the special books that we're giving is a book we're going to feature in one of the plenaries. But it's featured here because it was edited by me with an afterword by Hakim, and we haven't had the chance to be in too many places together. And we thought this, except, you know, in the stratosphere, in the Zoom, in this space. But between covers, we're here, and we'd like to have the chief come on the stage and get his copy. We want to ask Wendell to please come on the stage, of course. And finally, of course, we want our dear minister to be on the stage already. Okay. Hakim, why don't you? I thought you were going to do this. That's smooth. I'll just do it. Okay. Apparently I'm going to do them all. Okay. And so then the other books, Dr. Barrett, please, of course. Now, the next and final four, I don't have their names. But we were told that part of the construction of having all the youth here today were really done with the help of four key teachers. And we don't see, there's no disconnect for us between the teachers and the students. So in some ways, we'll ask them to come up as symbolic representatives of the whole school. But if we have their names, I know there were four of them to come.
Giselle Butcher, please bring your teachers. Thank you so much. Bring all your teachers. Yes. Great, thank you. And from Belmont
Can we have the
Primary?
Miss from Belmont Government Primary, please?
Let's take a photo and then have some food. We're going to take a photo, then we're going to have some food, and then we're going to be back here at 1 o'clock for the first plenary on Indigenous
Prof. Matt,
research.
you are not the master of ceremonies, so I have to say that you're jumping the gun on our program.
Yes, I'm sorry. We have a book here, and we have a person not here, and it's because the lists get complicated. But please also, Ravi G gets this book here. Please come.
Great. Thank you. Great. Yes, perfect. Yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah, let's go to the front. Yeah.
Come to the front. That's good. There we go.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We should come down.
Yeah, teachers, please come in the front.
Go ahead. Go in the front. Just go in the front of the thingy. Yeah. We don't need the. Just block it up. Yeah. Squeeze. Perfect. Great, thank you. Oh. Great, okay. Okay. Wait. Yeah. We're good. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now, before we break, we have one last thing. Now, we started with the national anthem played on our national instrument. And we want to close with our national instrument and the young people of our society playing our national instrument. Just as a teaser for Friday night when we will be in the Panyard. But before Deja and Dejon come up to do their closing performance, I would like to ask a sister of mine to do something that's important, which is to remember that the steel pan is an instrument of spirit. And it was in the Orisha yards of Laventil and East Port of Spain that this instrument of spirit was forged in Ogun's fire. And we give thanks to our ancestors. We give thanks to the Orishas. We give thanks to all the energies of this land that made this instrument possible in this space. You know, the history of the steel pan is that the drum was banned in 1884, and the culture of formerly enslaved Africans was criminalized. And these young people who were framed as criminals went back into their yards, where they were protected by the Orisha elders, many of them women. And in those yards, they forged the steel pan. And they were called, and you know, when you hear the name of many of the bands who have been around for a long time, they have names like Renegades, Desperados. And that is a testimony of how they were seen by the society. They were young boys who were criminals, but they were also scientists. They were also alchemists. They were also physicists and chemists. And they were forging something that is now in every corner of the world. And so, Ajibola, I welcome you on stage to raise one song for Baba Ogun.
Pleasant good morning, each and everyone. I know Attila said one song, but I do have to do two. One for Yeshua, the divine messenger, and then I'll do one for Ogun, yes? So the second one, I want you all to help me. We have no drummers, so I would like you all to clap, But for the first one, of course, I'll do a cappella. Eshuloni bode, Eshuloni bode, Eshu baba ni bode wo, Eshuloni bode, Eshuloni bode, Eshuloni bode, Eshu baba ni bode wo, Eshuloni bode, Ogunbere ami Ogunbere, Ogunbere baba wo, Ogunbere, àwa ọmọdé ọmọ pangwele, Ogunbere ami yo, Ogunbere ami yo, Ogunbere, Oguneli muna bere ami yo, Ogunbere, àwa ọmọdé ọmọ pangwele, Ogunbere ami yo, yewe, yewe Ogunla, Ogungayaba, yewe, yewe Ogunla, Ogungayaba, yewe, yewe Ogunla wo, Ogungayaba baba, yewe, yewe Ogunla, Ogungayaba, yewe, yewe Ogunla, Ogungayaba, yewe, yewe Ogunla, Ogungayaba. Thank you very much.
Yes, and in the spirit of, embodying and all that wonderful stuff, feel free to get up and dance. This is where I leave you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a very engaged, participatory audience this morning. Please, we look forward to seeing you and sharing with you for the next 5 days, and we will be back in session this afternoon from 1 p.m. There we go.